long too.
Yep, and it's pretty late. We finally got the kiddos settled down.
Right.
It often seems when we need to do something like this, then it's hard to get them settled down.
Right.
But yes, we want to, we couldn't get all the questions answered last time, so this is question and answer part 2. So
that's right.
We'll
all right.
dig right in, I guess.
Yeah, let's jump in. You guys asked a ton of questions, and we tried to answer them the best we can, so we hope that your question gets answered. There was quite a few repeat questions, so if we didn't answer your specific question, it's because just maybe read or listen to the previous question and answer one, and the answer might be on there that you asked. So if there was one that we had already answered, we might just say, hey, refer back to the last one.
Right.
So it doesn't get as long, because the last one was almost like an hour, I think 50-some minutes long, and it was only half the questions. So here we go. Go ahead and ask the first question, babe.
Okay. It's from Linda Doe. Good morning, Joyce and Priscilla. I have just recently found your channel and have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know your sweet family. Okay, let me see. Can you please share more about your church services? Do you all just worship together, or do you divide into groups around age, gender, interests, etc.? Do you have Sunday school separate from the preaching service? Do you have weekly Bible studies for each age group? How many people attend your church? And did they all come from Amish backgrounds? There's a lot of questions.
Right. Let me just say this first. I can repost the link below in the description box, but just go to our church website. It is eaglevalleychurch.org, and you're going to find a lot of these questions answered there, what we're about. Maybe not specifically about how we do church services as much, but you can read about more who we are as a church and as a community there if you really want to know that. You want to answer that, or should I just say a couple things about that?
You go ahead. Yeah.
So our church services, we all have one thing about our community is we really have a desire to be family, and so we actually have, I think, one Sunday a month that we have a children's church, but all the rest of the time everybody sits together in the same service. We don't split out and do groups. That's just how we do it. And so there's no Sunday school separate. It's just one church. And then we have weekly Bible studies. So there's home group. We have home group. So every buddy that wants to can be in a home group. And so there's multiple home groups that have weekly Bible studies or different topics.
I think they usually have once a month home group.
Once a month. And then there's also the youth have get together every week. And one week is Bible studies. The next week is they do something fun together.
Right. And we have a Friday night worship service.
Yes, every Friday night.
Yeah.
Is prayer and worship from 7 to 9.
And not nearly everyone is there
Right.
all the time, but yeah, there's that going all the time.
And we have a lot of people from town come, and then also the first Sunday of each month. Sounds like a lot going on, but it is actually. But we have like a sing-spiration, and that is anybody that wants to sing a song. Maybe there's a group that go up and sing, but that's always the first Sunday evening of each month. That's a lot of fun.
It's in the evening.
And everybody has a way to express their particular talent and style. And there's anything from a cappella to groups to singles. A lot of songs that people in the community have written.
Original songs.
Yeah, it's very good. It's always a very enjoyable time. I think we pretty much covered that one. Is that it?
Do everybody who attend church, did they all come from Amish background?
No, there's quite a number of people from town. So I think last time we said there's 25-ish, 20 plus families, I guess. We didn't count exactly that come to church, and then there's also other people that are not from the community per se, but they come on Friday nights or they come Sunday mornings sometimes. So there's a fair bit of that. My question is, how did your father achieve his log home business? So my dad moved from Indiana in I always forget, I believe it's 1975, and he saw all the trees around, and he had no experience but he bought a sawmill, and he realized that he could saw railroad ties, so he sawed railroad ties. And then my brothers built a little log cabin because of the sawmill, down by a creek in 1979, and they said, my dad said, maybe this is something we could do actually. So in 1980, built the first log home, and then the rest is history, I guess. And from there, it just has grown.
And the next one is Joas. I would like to know where all of the trees come from to build the beautiful log homes. What kind are they, and how tall are they?
Let me answer that, then she's got another question. This is Elizabeth. So they all come from the Northwest here, usually within 100 miles, sometimes a little bit more, but very local. We build specifically from 4 kinds of trees. We build from lodgepole pine. We like dead standing lodgepole pine if a forest fire goes through, but they're hard to get. And then we like to use larch or tamarack, the same species. And then we also use white pine and spruce. Those are all good house logs. And we get them tree length, so we get them everything from an 8.5-inch top, which is about this big. If you're from centimeters, I don't know how big that is, but about 8.5 inches, to about, on the butt end of the log, about 18 to 22 inches, which is about like that. And as long as the tree goes in that, so you get 60 feet, 70 feet. And then I'll read this for you, then you can answer. Priscilla, I would like to know if there are special dating customs for the young people of your faith.
I don't know if you would call them customs, but for the most part, they don't date just to date, or they usually pray and ask the Lord, who the one is, and then they take it seriously. When they date or they court someone, in the back of their mind is they want to marry this person.
Right.
So when they ask someone, they are pretty serious.
So in Priscilla and I's case, I had never dated anyone else, and neither had she.
No.
And we were the first, and yeah, awesome. I'll ask you this. R.M. Smith asks, how do you feel about head covering?
Well, I did talk about this in the very first question and answer that we ever did, about a year ago, I think. And so you can go back there, and I think it's probably somewhere in the middle.
It's April. April of 2020.
Yeah. Just go on our playlist and find question and answer. That's just a hard one to talk about. It's very controversial. There's 2 ways that people explain it. One is that the hair is for the covering, and the other explain it that you need a covering. And both ways sound completely right. So, and because from where I came from, an Amish background, and because the Amish misuse that, and they control it, and they even churches split because of the covering and how it's made. And it just it isn't right. And so I just came for myself. I felt the Lord tell me that it was okay to not wear one, that I had total peace with that. So just for me, I have peace with that, but I have also peace with to wear one when I go to my Amish relatives. I will wear something on my head. So that is my answer. That is what I feel. But everybody has to find their own, what they feel the Lord is telling them, because it is not a totally clear-cut answer. And also, it isn't a salvation issue. Right. So
it's a little bit, the scripture is not completely, it does say that women, the hair is given for a covering. Some people translate that the hair is the covering. Other people say the hair is given on your head so that you can cover it. But then later in the chapter refers that there's no such custom. So there's different controversies. So for us, in our background, it's very controversial, like Priscilla explained, and we don't want it to be. It's not a salvation issue, and so if you wear a covering, we bless you, and if you don't wear a covering, we bless you as well. And it's what you feel God says is right for you, and of course the Bible is the basis. We're not deviating from that, but people can get different conclusions from reading it, so we have to give each other space. And if you feel God tells you to wear a covering, then please do so. That's the most important thing. And if you don't have a conviction, if you don't understand it in that way, and then I believe that's what you need to do. It's anything that we don't do out of faith, the Bible says, is sin. So I think it's important that our heart is right with Him. That's the number one thing.
Right.
I know we talked about this a little bit now at length, but we also talked about it more in that question and answer. And we have a question and answer playlist. If you want to go back, just go to our playlist and you'll see the question and answer. And all our question and answers are in there as well.
Yeah, and in our community, there are a few that wear a head covering, and a lot of them don't. But we are totally okay with whatever, we decide. And that is actually strange for Anabaptist group to do that because it's such a huge thing to Amish people and Mennonites.
Yep.
The covering is huge. So, yeah, just to release one another.
Okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Sandy says, will you please share us your birthdays as well as those of your 5 children? And she also says, your children seem very well adjusted and well behaved. How do you discipline them if necessary? So we talked a little about discipline in the last video, so go back and watch that. As far as birthdays, I mean, I don't know. I guess we could share our birthdays.
Well, why don't we write them in the description box
There you
below?
go. Okay, we'll write our birthdays in the description box below. Priscilla, Natural Health says, Priscilla, would you ever like to do a hair and makeup tutorial? We talked about that in the last video.
Yeah.
And so I think Priscilla
I
will
will
at some
probably
point.
sometime.
I'm
wanna
trying to get her
her
sooner
though.
rather than later. Yep. And I'll ask you this question. This is from Katerina. Priscilla, I really like your videos. I want to ask how you manage to do so many things. How do you find the time having 5 kids to take care of and also take care of the house, cooking, gardening, breeding dogs, etc.? Do you have any tips or advice to give? And Katerina is from Cyprus. So welcome, Katerina. That's so awesome that people across the world have watched your videos. It's just incredible, actually.
By the way, I would love to visit Cyprus someday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in Cyprus, there is a school that, what kind of school?
I forget what it's called.
I mean, how would you describe it? But my nephew actually went to the school in Cyprus. It's a Christian school that teaches kingdom principles. And we have some dear friends in Spokane, Washington, and they are part of that ministry. So, yeah, we'd love to go to Cyprus sometime. Maybe even know the ministry. I just don't remember. Gateways Ministries, perhaps it's called. So back to the question.
I don't know how I find time for everything. Sometimes I wonder myself. It's a balancing act. I always find myself too in a hurry, doing too many things at once, and I'm always trying to pull back. So that's a very good question.
It's something we're always challenged with, honestly. It really is.
Yeah, and especially with doing YouTube even, that takes a lot of time too. So I just really have to always focus on what is important at the moment. And I'm not very good at that because when I get focused on things to get done, I just bulldoze my way through it because I really want to get it done. But I try hard to, just to see what is important right at the moment. So that's all I know to say. We're working on that ourselves.
Right, and we're trying to. That is a difficult one because, I get even burnout myself. But we try to share some of these things. Like Priscilla doesn't do a lot with the dogs, for example.
Yeah.
That's not really her thing.
Yeah, he and the boys do a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need to do any of that. And then the cooking, obviously the cooking, but the gardening. So she does a lot of the gardening, but we do gardening together.
Right.
So like especially preparing the ground, we'll always do that as a family. And then, but like maybe harvesting or if you need lettuce, you go out in the garden and get lettuce or whatever. But so we kind of share the gardening part of it. But yes, it's still the household, the 5 kids, all that. So yes.
Yeah, I really appreciate. He goes and does all the trimming and the, of all the grapes and all the orchards and the raspberries. He does all that stuff. So
we kind of tag team. We work together on all this stuff. Yeah.
So that helps if we can help one another in the business.
Right, but it is a challenge. It always is,
Yeah.
and we have to. It's difficult, but it's necessary and mandatory to actually make time for date nights and getaways, and you have to schedule it in, because if you don't, life gets away from you and you're just caught red-handed and without making it happen.
We don't always schedule in date nights, but it's fun to be spontaneous too.
Right. Okay, so Grace says, I'd love to hear Priscilla speak her Swiss German. I speak Pennsylvania Dutch from a Mennonite background. I'm fascinated by the way the Amish speak it, especially from Holmes County, Ohio. And yes, you can tell the Amish have different dialects. Okay, so let me just divulge for a second. Pennsylvania Dutch, I've explained this before, but there's no such thing as Pennsylvania Dutch. It's actually the first Amish people came to the area of Pennsylvania, and in German you say Deutsch for German. So it became, people couldn't say Deutsch, so they said Dutch. So now everybody calls it Pennsylvania Dutch, but it is actually a German dialect, which is called Schwäbisch, and it's spoken in parts of Germany. As 400 of you know that are subscribed, I should check, there's 400 people from Germany subscribed to our channel. And yes, in Schwabland, I believe is where we speak very similar to you. But Grace is asking, I don't believe I ever heard Swiss. My ancestors came from Switzerland, so I'm wondering why we don't speak it. I find your channel refreshing, on and on. Okay, so there are Amish communities that speak Swiss German, and there are Amish communities that speak Pennsylvania Dutch or Schwäbisch. And I came from we'll just call it Pennsylvania Dutch because most people are familiar with that term. My background is Pennsylvania Dutch, her background is Swiss. So we speak Swiss to the kids because there's fewer of those around. So they kind of have a mixture of everything. But why don't I just ask you a couple things in English, and you can answer me in German, in Swiss.
Like answer your question?
Yeah, I'll ask her I'll ask her a sentence, and then she can answer me in Swiss. I'll just put her on the spot, anything. What time do we usually go to bed?
We begin ins bed around 8:30. I said that in English.
We just say the clock in English time.
Yeah, we usually say that.
Okay. Do you like having a house dog?
Ja, ik luister een huishond.
And do you like to cook meals for the family?
Yeah, I usually play meals kochen for the family.
Okay, there's a quick little sampling. It's close to Pennsylvania Dutch, but it's not exactly.
Like for cheese, the Swiss has more of a guttural sound.
Right.
For cheese, yeah, the Pennsylvania Dutch would be kaas, and in Swiss it would be gaas. Like you speak in the back of your throat, kind of. So
a lot of words are similar, just more guttural, and some are completely different. Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm going to keep asking the questions if they're for Priscilla. I'd love to know how your family keeps up on the laundry.
I don't know if I have the best system, but because I know some moms wash a load of laundry every day. Like they just put a load in every day, but I think it would be kind of hard to always have sorted loads every day. But so what I do is Monday mornings, because over the weekend there's a lot of laundry. Monday mornings I do laundry, and then Friday mornings I do laundry. So twice a week I do laundry, and as soon as they're dry I fold them, and then my children put them away, and they also fold them if they're here, but usually they're in school. So
okay,
that's how I do it.
Cool. Black Bear, you're from Oregon. He says, can you tell us how you explain to your children about everyone wearing masks, and that there are believers in Jesus Christ that are not afraid about the pandemic, don't wear masks? So, I mean, kids just kind of do what, they see other people do. I mean, I know there's controversy about the masks. Just for us, I mean, Montana now doesn't require masks, and so we don't wear a mask. When the governor required a mask, I had a mask in my pocket, and if I was asked to put one on, I'd put one on. Out of respect, we personally feel it's okay. We had COVID, and our parents had COVID. A lot of the people in the community had COVID. It's real. I know that. We think it's a lot of people died, so I don't want to diminish it. It's real. However, the government definitely, I believe, has over-exercised they're overstep their boundaries, and I think mask wearing is just one of them. And so we just don't think that it's necessary to do that unless somebody asks us to. Then we will out of respect. No problem there, but that's just where we're at with it. But how to explain to our children? I mean, that's just what we explain to them, that if we need to, we will, but if we don't need to, we're not going to. So, and we don't have to be afraid of the pandemic. I mean, yes, it can strike fear into our hearts, but it doesn't have to.
Right.
We can overcome. By the way, I know I'm going to get this question asked. What are you guys drinking? Priscilla made hot tea. This is tea that she harvests from the garden, and she dries it, and then the tea leaves, and then she puts tea in hot water and steeps it, and then sometimes we'll drink tea in the evenings like this.
Yep, while it's still chilly outside.
Yep. By the way, it snowed yesterday.
Debbie asks, you were both raised Amish. I understand kids only go through 8th grade as Amish. Will that be the same for your kids' community? I think we kind of talked about that in the other one.
We did a little bit, yep.
Yeah. How do you encourage your kids' individualism and interests?
Yeah, so they only go through 8th grade in our school. And I think we talked about the love languages. So I think it's important to know your kids' love language as well as their interests. Each child is different. And then you just, like we have, we're paying, or we have quite a few years, the boys have taken piano lessons, and Avalon is taking violin. And it may not end up being their bent, but I think it's so good to allow them to do some of those things, because they might excel and they might not.
Right.
But to help them kind of figure out what they're good at, and
Right.
you kind of know some of your children are academically inclined and others aren't that much. So they both work equally hard, and some have better grades than others. So you just kind of have to figure out. It's you don't always know, but you just have to your child better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of, when they're interested in something, get involved with them, be interested with them in that thing. And yeah, it might be a passing fad, but you never know until you try.
Right. Usually, yeah, we just try to see what they are interested in, and then kind of help them along that way.
Right. For example, just tonight I took Justin and Ethan to somebody in town. He's actually, I think he said he's the largest, his largest collection or seller of like dinosaur bones and rocks and all those things. So we spent the whole evening in his house, and he explained all his dinosaur bones and petrified wood and just things like that are interesting to the kids. And really, like, where can we go find dinosaur bones? So I think that if we go camping or something, then they're interested in that, and you go out and look for some cool rocks and stuff.
Please, can you do a video series and share the Amish knowledge of how to garden, from amending, prepping the soil, all the way to harvest and storage?
So we've talked about doing a video of gardening 101. I think probably just how we do it. I think we probably should do that. There's just so many things we could do. We just haven't quite got to it. But I think that would be good. I'd love to do that, actually. And a lot of you know how to, but there's always tips and tricks, and we're always learning still too.
Right, we are. We just kind of know from how we grew up, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of new ways and better ways to do it, but we can show you how we do it.
Right. Okay, so Pam asked this question. I do want to answer this because, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but she says, why is the Amish only required to go to the 8th grade in school, and the public schools has to do 12 to 13 years? I've heard you say before you will leave the further education up to your children, but are you sure they're not taught to always do the family business and not further their education? So, of course, the kids usually walk in the parents' shoes, and it's up to them if they want to do further education. But and I talked about this in the last video, I am very strong on life skills versus education skills. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having both, but I know in America there's all this emphasis, you have to go to college so you get a good job. Hang it up. Just go to 8th grade, learn, and start your own business, and you're going to be better off in a lot of cases than those that have these huge debts from going to college. I'm not disrespecting education because it's good. However, for us personally, are really believe strongly that it's more important to have life skills than education skills. You can have both, but if you just have education smarts and no life skills, you're just in a world of hurt. You're at the mercy of the system. And so I think it's critical to have life skills, and that's what we want to teach our kids. Yeah, they might not end up building log homes, but they're going to be working the log home business. And if they find another bent, maybe their bent is to come over here this direction somewhere, and we see God is in that, we're going to definitely help them out that way.
And you know, if one of our children, or if our children would have a bent into something that would require some college courses, then we would allow that. That's totally
Absolutely.
fine. That's totally fine, because we need nurses and doctors and all that.
Right.
We need those people. So, but we're not going to go make them do that.
Right.
We're just going to go. We watch them and we try to help them along the way and just help them. And yeah, just watch what they're interested in.
Right.
I guess.
If they want to build, I don't know, maybe they want to build guitars or something, then I'm cool with whatever they end up doing. I'm hoping that some of the, a few of the children will want to continue the family business, but that's time will tell,
Right. Yep.
We'll see what happens. Okay.
What are your Good Friday Easter biblical traditions? I think we talked about that in the last video too, about Easter a little bit. I don't think we have too many big traditions.
We don't really.
But we do celebrate, and we've already had a sunrise service, and we definitely celebrate the resurrection.
Right.
And and we've even celebrated Passover with Jewish friends, and so yes, we definitely celebrate that. It's just maybe not huge like some people do.
What Bible do you use? We talked about that in the last video. Do your children go to 12 grades of school? We just talked about that. And Andy says, can you speak more about the Schipperke dogs and their characteristics? I haven't heard of them before I started watching your videos. They look adorable, but their little black devil nickname is a bit foreboding. So I'll just tell you that most people that we sell puppies to have had Schipperkes in the past. So once you've had one, you fall in love with them. And I realize that's probably a lot of dogs. If you own, let's say, a Jack Russell, you might want a Jack Russell again, for example. But they're very cool. They're intelligent. They're smart. They're not a perfect dog. I don't know if there is one, but they're cool. We got our first one when I was 9 years old, and I've always loved them. They're very intelligent. They are, let's say, from lazy to extreme hyper. They're probably somewhere in the 75 percentile. They're not extremely hyper, but they're very active, and they do need a lot of exercise. And I wouldn't call them Black Devil because they're mean or anything like that. They're actually very, very good with kids and people. They're a little bit more of a one-person dog, maybe than, let's say, I don't know, a lab might be, so hopefully that helps you. But just Google some things on the internet. They originally came from Belgium. Very cool dogs.
Yeah, okay, this is also about the head covering, so we already talked about that.
And then Diane responded to Lucy, and she says, thanks for asking this question, as it is something I've pondered as well. I'm a Mennonite from Canada and also wear a head covering. So we go back and watch the first, like we mentioned a year ago, question and answer. Priscilla spent a little bit more time, but I would say that, do what God feels you to, maybe you're in a place where your husband or your church, is in that place where they would require a head covering. And if you feel that God has placed you in that place, then the honorable thing would be to wear a head covering. And I think it's what God wants you to do.
Yeah, where you're at right at the moment where God has you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Watchwoman, I got to ask Priscilla this: what would be your idea of a perfect day if you could do or go anywhere?
Well, I would love to go to Bora Bora with Joas someday. Just me and him.
Right. This is our little secret that we'll let you in on, but we've actually been saving a little bit every month for...
A tiny bit.
Right, a tiny bit every month since soon after we were married.
Yeah.
And eventually, we don't know when that time will be, we want to take an all-expense paid trip to Bora Bora.
Yeah. That's a dream.
Yeah.
So Jolene asks, what Bible translation do you read? And okay, we talked about that in just the last one we did.
Mm-hmm.
So, and do you believe in pre-trib or post-tribulation?
And is there a Bible passage that you can refer to? I am trying to study the subject. So for us, we did talk about that. And in the last one, I'll just refresh real quick. The Bible does talk about we're going to meet the Lord in the air, and so we know that's going to happen. Whether it's pre, post, or mid-tribulation, that's a controversial subject, and we're not going to get into that. So because there's people that are very strong all in all those, and so we have what we feel God has showed us, but I want you to study that out and see what God shows you on that. The key is to follow the Lord with our whole heart and be ready at any moment.
Right.
If it's before the tribulation, awesome. I mean, great. Maybe it's not till mid or after, but at any rate, just be ready, and then you'll never have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. And she also asked, how many hours a week does Joas work at his log home business?
All day. 5 days a week, at least.
Yeah. It would be nice if he could slow that down just a little so he has more time with our dog business and some other like homesteading stuff. And we're working on that end, but it's really hard.
It is.
Because he literally grew up in that business.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, Bonnie says, I noticed the church and school are close by your house. Is this an Amish-based church? And how far are you from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho? How far are you from the town of Libby? Is this where you do your shopping? So, is this an Amish-based church? So, if you watch our videos any length of time, we still call ourselves Amish. We're non-traditional Amish, but we grew up Amish, and so we've just kept the name, even though we are, of course, Christian. That's just our heritage. And most of the families live in the area. Not everybody lives right here within a mile. But there's other people that some of the community lives several miles from here. Yeah. We are 2.5 hours from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we live 10 miles out of town. And is this where you do most of your general shopping? We have a Amish farm to market store. And that is a deli, grocery, it has almost everything we need, but if we want to do like clothes shopping or something like that, then yes, we go to Libby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, Chris says, greetings from East France. I'd love to know if you build your house yourself.
And we did. Well, myself, I didn't do all the manual labor. Obviously, had employees and other people helping me, but I did do a lot of the work, as much as I could.
And we did have like a community frolic one time.
Right.
Yep.
That work bee, yep. You want to read that one?
Do you have a favorite YouTube channel that you look forward to watching? Yes, I have a favorite one, and that would be called The White Cottage Company. She's a Mennonite lady. She actually grew up Amish. She doesn't talk about that much, but her videos just are refreshing. Inspirational. She's so good with anything she puts her hands to. She does all kinds of makeovers, furniture makeovers. She's just really good with that, extremely good with that, and she's good with tools. And so I love watching her, and it inspires me. And she does like some room makeovers and stuff like that. So yeah, I love watching The White Cottage Company. And also, there's also another one, just a lifestyle video that her name is Lynette Yoder from Florida, and she's also a Mennonite. So I watch her.
And I don't really have anybody I watch. I actually don't even hardly watch YouTube very infrequently.
He watches hunting.
Yeah, if I watch YouTube, the boys and I will sit down, we'll watch an Alaska hunting video.
Yeah, they love that. I would like to say, though, that if you want to listen also a little bit more about growing up Amish type stuff, the Amish potato just started out. I think his name is CJ, but he's commented on our videos a few times, and I just like to give him a shout out that he started not too long ago, and you can go watch him. He speaks about his growing up in Indiana.
There you go. Okay, so MV Island. There's kind of a long one, but it kind of boils down to: would you be disappointed if one of your children did not follow the family Amish traditions, but decided they wanted to live in a big city and have a job in technology, become a lawyer or banker, a job and life that was not a homestead Amish lifestyle? So we want what the Lord wants of our children. And as long as they're following the Lord, I don't care if they live in India, now it's easy to say now, but harder to accept later, or in Montana. We would prefer that they would be close to us. I mean, that's the ideal, seemingly situation, but the more important thing is we want our children to follow the Lord wherever the Lord takes them. They might be spread out. We don't know. Only God knows that. But of course, I would rather have them here. But more importantly, we want what God wants from them.
Right. Yep. Rachel says she's wondering if there is any book or books that you would recommend relating to life as an Amish woman. Also, any cookbook you would recommend. I don't know if I have any books.
I don't know either.
I have to think about that. And if I come up with any, I'll show it sometime in one of our videos.
Yep.
Because I don't really know. But I do have a couple. Okay, there's another place where someone asked about Amish cookbooks. And I have a couple cookbooks right here that I would like to show you. This one is called Amish Country Cooking. And it comes actually from the Rexford Amish here in Montana. And has some good old Amish recipes in here. And
I think my mom has some recipes in here.
Yes, his mom and his sisters have recipes in here.
Because we used to live in this community in the West Kootenai. I lived there for 12 years of my life. Where can they get this book?
I was actually looking. I don't know where you can actually go buy them. I think maybe...
To order more books, contact... This is old. They don't even live there anymore.
I did look on eBay and on Amazon, and you can get used ones.
Okay.
So maybe we can put a link down.
You just have to Google it, because I'm pretty sure they're out of date. If I can find them, I will, but
yeah, they might
probably not in print anymore.
Yeah, and this one also, Family Treasures, and there's Family Treasures Volume 2 also. These are Amish cookbooks, and then now.
Oh, my first cousin made this cookbook actually out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can find them. I looked for them on eBay and on Amazon, and you can find them used. And this one I think is kind of hard to find, but I also saw this on eBay, maybe on Amazon too. This is like my favorite, although I just now got it from my sister Mary gave it to me like a couple weeks ago, and I grew up with this cookbook. My mom had this cookbook, and it was tattered and worn, but we used it. I learned how to cook with this cookbook. So this is very special to me. It was like a beautiful gift from my sister.
Saying tattered and worn, another one just like it.
Yes, this is not the one.
Right, this one.
My sister Mary bought this on eBay for me. So
but
yes, it's just called Amish Cooking.
And where can you the same? Probably just eBay or someplace, right?
Yeah, eBay. It's out of print.
And yeah, this one was made.
First printing was 1977.
Yeah, right. So last printing was 1991. So you probably still find some. There's 12 printings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are just some good Amish cookbooks. But if you want some healthy cookbooks, there's I forget the name of it. Just a minute, I'm gonna go run and get it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Here's one. This is a really healthy cookbook. It's called Food for Life, and it is a Mennonite cookbook. It's from a Mennonite lady, and her style of cooking goes after these two ladies. they're called the Trim Healthy Mama ladies, and they came up with this this style of eating that helps you lose weight and is very healthy for you. There's no sugar, only like stevia and erythritol. So this cookbook I also cooked out of a lot, and it's called Trim Healthy Mama Cookbook. So these two I have used a lot, especially when I was pregnant. I used these a lot because I didn't cook with hardly any sugar at all. So there you go.
Trim Healthy Daddy too, that's why I'm so skinny.
And if we can find these on,
yeah, if we can find these, I think we can find these on Amazon. We'll put the link below.
yes.
If we can find them, we'll put the links down. If we can't, just Google it.
Okay, we gotta keep moving.
Yep, okay. The Elo family, I'd love to hear more about your day-to-day with Meadowlark. Did your father grow up building log homes, or did you learn this as a family? How did you decide to pursue this avenue of business? So we just talked about that, how he moved to Montana and kind of grew into it.
Mm-hmm.
Day-to-day with Meadowlark. So, yes, I don't know. It's hard to know what my job is sometimes. I look after the financial side of things, and then also just kind of the general well-being of the company, I guess you could say, the employees and the company, and try to fill in the little gaps and chinks that need to be taken care of. I also am in charge of all the rail building, so the rail shop, making sure that all gets done. Right now I'm also working with we're just building a brand new addition to our Amish Farm to Market store, and which is bigger than the store that we have, quite a bit bigger. Mm-hmm. So we're planning on opening this May, in like less than a month away, May 6th. So if you're in the area, please stop by. Mm-hmm. Or if you're coming to our auction, you're going to see it.
Right. It will be open when we have our school auction.
Right. And by the way, let's talk about our school auction. If you want to come to Montana, you want to come to visit us, just go to our website, Meadowlark, like the bird, meadowlarkloghomes.com. And on the very top, you're going to see, it says auction. You click on the link and it'll give you all the details, where it is, when, and all that stuff, and what we do there. It's always a fun day, and you're going to get to see the store open. So, but I'm working on that. Hopefully that'll get off my plate soon, because we're almost done with that. And then I'm building a couple turnkey log homes this year, so there's a lot going on. Yep.
Hopefully we can do a video of like touring the new store, or just showing you how it looks. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's turning out pretty nice.
Priscilla, where in Michigan did you grow up? And since you speak Swiss German, do you or any of your Amish family yodel? I grew up in Ovid, Michigan, a very small town called Ovid, Michigan, not too far from St. John's or Owasso. I was like 20 miles east of Lansing, I believe.
Something like that.
20 miles east of Lansing. I was literally, like we always said, we lived in the middle of the mitten, the middle of Michigan. So, yes. And yes, some of my family yodels.
Actually, all your family yodels, right?
Mostly. Some do more than others.
Right. But so, it's awesome to get them to yodel. We'll put a yodel on sometime when I can catch them if they're not watching.
I'm not the greatest at yodeling, especially a solo, but I will help my brothers and sisters.
So Julie asked about makeup.
Would you do a makeup hair video, and how do other members of your family feel about makeup and nail polish? How long did it take you to allow this into your customs? I would say it was like everything else. It was a very slow transition. Right. So we just slowly allowed some things, and I'm not sure if I'll do a makeup video or not. I just don't know. I keep saying that. Mm-hmm. Probably someday I will.
Was it hard leaving the Amish? I should say Amish community. So Janelle, we still call ourselves Amish, and for us it's not. It's just a heritage.
Right.
And we love our people. We love our Amish people, and most of my cousins and such are still Amish, and so we have just kept the name, and we have never really left. We didn't get excommunicated or shunned. Some people in our community did, but we didn't. Our family didn't. It kind of depends on where they came from.
Mm-hmm. I can understand why some Amish people don't want to have anything to do with being called Amish anymore. Because some of them have some really bad and horrible experiences, just like everybody else in the world.
Right.
Wherever we are, we're no different. And some have really bad experiences, so they want nothing to do with that. But I just pray that there can be healing where there needs to be healing for that, and that we can still love our culture even though some things are not good.
Okay, so Linda asked, do you live in a place where there are mostly breakaway Amish? You live in a beautiful place. I live in Wisconsin, no mountains here. So there's several Amish communities in Montana, and we are probably the most non-traditional community. Just E said this question is for Priscilla. I lived in Michigan until I was 14. Oh, we already answered that. If a non-Amish person wanted to send your child to your school so they could get a Christian education, would that be allowed? So the school is secondary. We actually, it's just for the community here, and so we want people that send their children to school to be part of the community and the church family, and so that's kind of, at this time, that's where we're at. Because we're a parochial school, it's different than another school. In that the government gives us a lot of grace because it's just our own community. Once we start, if we'd start doing other kids, and then we'd go into a whole another thing, we don't want that. So we're just sticking with this school. Okay, Debbie?
Says, are you going to do any canning shows this summer? I'm guessing I probably will do a few.
How do you keep such a big area clean with so many kids and dogs? That's a good question. Well, we like to keep things clean as much as we can, and so like I had the kids pick up pine cones the other night, and so we just try to work together and keep it clean.
Does your homestead ever get in line of hot summer forest fires? Do you have hot summers in your area?
So yes, we do have forest fires that go through here, and we've never had one like just right close here. Actually, there have been some lightning strikes up on the hills, but the Forest Service got them put out. So there is a concern, and we always want to make sure we have trees not too close to the house. We just never know where the lightning's going to hit. We're not really concerned about it, but still it's something to think about. And if you live in the mountains, it is. But it's not that. I guess in the city you could have a fire go through your city too, so not too concerned about it. But we just have to be prepared. We always have a hydrant, lots of hydrants and hoses handy, and fire extinguishers, and just in case anything like that would happen.
Mm-hmm. What is each of your child's favorite things to do? And did you always do date nights ever since you were married, or when did you start? I'm not sure what all of our children's favorite things are to do. They love to play.
Yeah. They all have different interests a little bit, right?
They do. Avalon's interest right now is riding horses. She just loves to ride horses.
Right.
And
Justin and Ethan are right now. Their interests are making things for the auction to sell.
Right,
so
they
every evening they're like building tables and chairs, and they're wood burning these. It's gonna be pretty cool. If you come to the auction, you're gonna get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
They're making these coffee tables, and they're like drawing and like wood burning in them. It's actually really cool, like a wolf head. And Wyatt, he just loves to bike right now. He's into biking, and I don't know, Chloe likes to do what everybody else is doing, just tag along and play. And
And did you always do date nights ever since you were married? Yes, pretty much ever since we were married, we did date nights.
Okay, and thank you for everyone that's just commenting so often about how you love our channel. It just means so much to us. We really appreciate that.
Right.
That's wonderful. Is there someone you could recommend closer to me that has a program? I think the Guardian Home program for the puppies. I'm sorry, I don't, Anne Marie. Go to WALA.com, and you can look at the people that on there. Those are breeders that raise the Australian Labradoodles. And go to your state. You just go find a puppy and go to your state, and then you can see what the people in your state, where the closest ones are. to you. Okay, Terry, this is for Priscilla. Did your mom live in Etheridge, Tennessee, or maybe Summertown, Tennessee? I live up 30 minutes from there in Alabama.
She was born in Hohenwald. I think it was called Hohenwald, Tennessee. I'm actually not sure where that is, but I just remember she said it was in Hohenwald. So Margaret asks, you have continued some Amish traditions. Is Rumspringa one that your children will participate in? I hope not.
That is something we don't do in this community. It's basically an ungodly religious tradition.
It's a lawless tradition.
Right.
Yeah, they just go and do whatever they want for a while. They just go and sin, do all kinds of stuff, you know. So
it's not a cool thing. I noticed that all men in the community have beards. Is there any religious reasons for this? I mean, the Amish traditionally wear beards, and I don't know.
But not everyone wears beards,
No,
actually.
it depends.
Probably just the ones you saw.
Right. Sometimes they shave them off and then they let them grow again. It's whatever people want to ask.
Yeah.
Want to do.
I'd like to hear how your mothers were in being managers of the home. It's a bigger job than most people think. Yes, it certainly is. I think both of our moms were really good in managing the home. They just...
I think it goes a lot by personality too. Some are just probably more naturally gifted that way, and others I think have to learn a little bit more.
Right.
You know, it goes with your personality and what you were taught growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I know some moms who just love being outside way more than inside. They'd rather do the chores and stuff, and so the house gets a little bit neglected, but that's okay, you know. It's just whatever your giftings lie.
I'd like to know, this is from Dawn, what precautions you take to protect your family and farm animals or wild animals. We don't have to worry about wild animals here. We talked about the last video. There are bears and mountain lions occasionally, but we never see them hardly here.
Considering you both got COVID, do either of you have any after effects? I have seen people claiming to have lost their sense of taste. We did have for a long time, we did have some after effects where,
So I answered that incorrectly, Richard. I said we didn't because it didn't really bother me, but it really bothered her actually. I didn't really lose my sense of taste and smell, but hers.
I did. Yeah. Yes, I did. And just the being tired a lot.
That was the worst. I mean, it almost feels like the effects never quite left us. Just feels ever since then I'm a little bit more tired than I used to be. Definitely for months afterwards, it was very noticeable. It lessened a lot. But
we're doing good.
Yeah. Okay, Tara. Hi, I'm interested in your healthy eating habits. Could you share more about that? Also, you mentioned a green drink. Do you have a recipe? Did we post that green? So many people asked us about that green drink.
Yeah, I never really posted a recipe, but I did in our chat with us video. I did talk about it. I just put so many things in, but I never had a recipe. Every time it was maybe a little bit different. But I just added a lot of greens, and if I didn't have the garden greens, I would use powdered greens. So I just like collagen and baobab powder. Just some vitamin C powder, you know, just stuff like that I added into it.
Carrot tops, beet tops.
Yeah, and then some fruit to make it taste sweet, you know, better, and that's
anything green you can find.
Yeah, and sometimes if I had kefir, I put kefir in it. So.
And you know what, Priscilla? We're down to what?
Our last one.
Last question.
Yay! And this is going to be a long one. I mean, this is going to be a long video. Okay, how was your journey out of legalism? Oh, that is a long one. And has your relation to your parents suffered when you changed outwardly?
In the videos, it seems like you have a very good relationship, even with different views on clothes, hair, jewelry, etc. It would be interesting to hear more about this.
Yeah, we have a very good relationship with our parents. There's, I'm sure there might be some things that they maybe wish we wouldn't do, but they just love us the way we are,
Right.
and they accept us, and we accept them, and yeah, that's good.
My parents had a hard time with me changing beliefs in some things, and we understand that. I would just say that just love your parents and give them lots of grace and be respectful when you're around them. And ultimately, you have to be who God called you to be. And it's hard. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. It is difficult if you feel your parents aren't on the same page. So we just just pray and ask God to give you a heart that loves them, and that you can have grace around them, and maybe when you go visit them, if it's possible, you can dress a certain way that might be honoring to them.
I always feel, I always feel when you go to someone else's place, you want to honor them in the way they live. Honor them in the way they live, but if people come to your house, you can live the way you are living. That is your domain. That is where you what you feel is right. But if we go to other people's places that maybe do it differently or are a little bit more stricter, then we want to honor that.
Right.
For them.
Right.
So there you have it. It's
Okay.
been another long one, but hopefully we can maybe...
And it's past 11 o'clock
on
a Friday evening. And now it is time to snooze. Because tomorrow morning...
He's getting up early, and so I'll probably wake up.
Right. So one of the boys is Justin and Ethan's best friend, or one of their good friends. One of the best friends has a birthday, and so he asked his dad, could we go to a hot springs? And so we're all going to go to hot springs. I guess there's some hot springs that's, I think it's like 4 or 5 hours from here, up in like some trail up in the woods someplace. So we're going to go and check it out. I've never been there.
Okay, I just hope this wasn't too boring for you. I hope we are inspirational, and
all right.
We will see you next time.
Yes, thanks for watching our videos.
Yep.
God bless.